I am sure you'll agree that the human race has reached a crucial point in its existence, and that what is needed now, possibly more than at any other time in living memory, is for us human souls to wake up and think and live more consciously. And I will tell you why that is so important right now. It is because the unconscious are easy prey for those among us who are determinedly pushing their own insidious agendas, often cleverly masked as something else entirely. As we speak, 1,000 different personal agendas are clashing and competing, creating a collective energy field that is increasingly becoming darker and heavier. We human souls are always going to possess different beliefs and have different ways of going about things. That will never change. The only way there could be true peace on earth is if every one of us agree to disagree, live and let live, and put the greater collective good ahead of our own individual wants and ideas about how things should be done. I'm sure you'd agree that we're a very long way away from that ideal at this point in our story. However, there is always hope, and change is possible. It has to begin in the individual heart and mind, and then in the home and the workplace. Because both of these places can be hotbeds for power plays and unreasonable, self-serving behaviour perpetrated by unconscious souls who appear to have little to no conscience. It is true that we are all naturally selfish to one degree or another. But what I'm talking about here is so much worse than that. We know deep down inside that we are individual shards of the great creative source of all that is. But here, whilst experiencing this energy-turned matter dimension of extreme learning about ourselves, and only then if we make good use of it, we feel separate. Well, many of us do. We're told that spiritually we're all one. But how can we understand that when faced by a fellow soul who is violently opposed to us or attempting to force her own dark agenda on us? I think it's reasonable to say that many of us struggle to genuinely believe and accept that we are all one, in our current form at least. It sounds good theoretically, but not so easy to reconcile ourselves with in practice. But actually, physically, we are separate. We have to rely on the physical senses to receive, translate, and communicate information. Our brain, that miraculous complex organ that doesn't create consciousness but transmits it, is not wired exactly the same as everyone else's. We are all unique, all different, whilst sharing similarities. However, the one thing we all need in this world is love. We can get by without many things, but not without love. Our body needs food and water to be able to remain physically here, but we, the soul, need love more than anything else. And so you can see that one of our biggest challenges is the experience of separation from the whole, even though we might not consciously remember that. Before I continue, could I ask you to at least like this video and maybe even subscribe if you'd like to hear more of this kind of content? I have a small, loyal and much appreciated bunch of followers, and I'd love to see this channel grow throughout 2026. Your support would be wonderful. There's something else though, something we human souls crave, and that is acceptance. Acceptance causes us to feel safe and worthy. Many of us have a deep-seated need to belong, to find our tribe, even if that tribe begins to control our personal growth and think on our behalf, even if we have to sacrifice our true selves to it. Look around and you will easily recognize that war is being played out between a growing number of utterly uncompromising tribes, all determined to gain control, and each completely convinced of their righteousness. To complicate matters further, sub-tribes are developing within tribes, resulting in more conflict and even more separation, the very thing that is hurting us the most. There is room for all of us in this world, with our differences and our weird and wonderful ways. It doesn't matter what has gone before. We can't change the past. It's dead air now, a still frame on the face of space and time. Our power lies in the present, and we're writing our collective future right now at this very second. Surely we can learn from the past and share a better future. Well, not if the unconscious have anything to do with it. And this is probably the appropriate time to explain that intellectual intelligence and education do not guarantee a life lived consciously and awarely. Conscious living comes from within, from the soul itself, regardless of culture, creed, or status. Conscious beings are more aware and more self-aware. They question themselves. They question their own beliefs, reflect on their interactions with others and life in general. They make themselves accountable. They grieve their own lack of judgment and wisdom, and strive to be a better version of themselves. They fall but keep on getting back up, and they don't blindly, unquestioningly follow, though they will make a stand for what they believe to be right, a considered, closely examined stand. If it happens that they recognize that they are following the wrong tribe for them, led by souls with an agenda that does not reflect their own beliefs and values, or is not genuinely positively motivated, they will step back from it. They won't sell their souls to the devil metaphorically, or possibly even literally speaking. They possess the substance required to admit they were wrong or misinformed or misled. They can't be bought, and they'd rather be seen as an outcast by those members of the tribe who will do anything to remain accepted. They understand that most, if not all, stories are not black and white, that there are rights and wrongs, truths and non-truths on both sides, that there is always room for intelligent discussion with possible compromise in mind. However, the unconscious don't adopt that approach. They tend to state their case as if it is unquestionable fact, written in blood. These particular individuals terrify me. Some of them even feel soulless to me, as if they don't originate from the same source that you and I do. And I say you and I because you wouldn't be watching this video if you weren't at the very least partially conscious. It wouldn't attract you. It wouldn't appear on your radar, which means that I'm preaching to the converted, or maybe confirming for you something you already suspected, or explaining it in a different way than you've heard before. Where human philosophy is concerned, there is nothing new, it seems, just alternative ways of presenting those things we need to remind ourselves of periodically. After all, repetition is the foundation of mastery. The unconscious come in other forms too. The easily led or bought, the non-curious who plod blindly through life, dismissing those who have hopes and goals as foolish dreamers. Those who believe that security is the only thing that matters in life and that everything else should be sacrificed at its altar. Those who refuse to be open to any information that might challenge or contradict their long-held, usually inherited or tribe-held, views and opinions. This might all seem harmless enough, but they have the capacity to inflict untold damage on those around them, especially the young and impressionable, who are in the process of becoming more conscious. They are dream killers, seeing and judging life through a grey, fearful lens. They are easy fodder for the manipulative and powerful corrupt, who whisper persuasively in their ears, "Do as we tell you, we know best, and we'll look after you." And these unconscious souls may well include people that you know and love. If you were born a soul with consciousness already ingrained and just waiting to emerge over time and through experience into a deeply unconscious family, you will know how loneliness feels. The outsider, the black sheep. But please know that you are not alone, and never feel that you should be more like them. You shouldn't be. We are all at different stages of spiritual evolution in any lifetime, regardless of age. We can only know what we know and be who we are at any moment in time. And we can only be understood by those who speak the same spiritual language, even if it is with a different accent. Of course, the most dangerous unconscious souls are the ones who gain sufficient power to rule others with an iron fist, with an agenda that is not for the greater good and an endless supply of lies and diversions. These are the behaviours of the unconscionable. And at this point in our history, all bets are off and all pretences have been dropped. The corrupt no longer try very hard to cover their tracks. They simply continue to spin the same old rhetoric, confident that they're untouchable. But simply, from behind the closed doors of home to the closed doors of governments and other institutions, the unconscious members of the human race are holding the rest of us to ransom. It isn't spiritual to take it on the chin and to refuse to fight back. The higher spirit is childlike, brave, passionate, caring, and a defender of the vulnerable, weak, and defenseless. But it fights fairly and cleanly. On the other hand, the lower spirit is manipulative, self-serving, dishonest in its true intentions, falsely presenting them as empathic rather than a means to punish those they hate or fear, and motivated by a desire for control over others. It fights dirty and unfairly, and sometimes those who appear vulnerable, weak, and defenseless are actually wolves in sheep's clothing. But we don't know that until they bite us, and then it's up to us to not get bitten again. So, the human race is in a serious state of flux right now, and what it desperately needs is a mass awakening from unconscious to conscious. It is happening slowly and steadily as more and more souls are questioning the narrative and finding their voices. The battle between the light and the dark has been growing in intensity for years, with more to come, I'm afraid. However, the unconscious have had it their way for far too long, and it's our turn now.